And though it's been decades since New Yorkers cheered,
Ghostbusters! Break out the new equipment! Go Neutrono blast to charge!
today's question isn't who you're gonna call, it's who's gonna pay for this mess.
And that gives me all the permission I need to audit the Ghostbusters. Hello, and welcome to Foot the Bill, where we audit your favorite media. My name is Trey, and today we're looking at Ghostbusters, the groundbreaking 1980s ghost hunting movie that practically invented the genre of sci-fi exterminators. And you know what? We're just gonna put the rules right up front here. I'll be starting with their initial loan amount and working down or up as expenses and profits come in. I'll be calculating all profits tied to cash in the bank, profits from jobs, and any loans they've taken out to support the business. And I'll calculate any expenses tied to materials, bills, advertising, paychecks, and those oh so important property damages. Now, to do this movie justice, I'm gonna have to clear up what sources I'll be pulling from for my calculations. Obviously, the first film is on the chopping block, no questions asked. And canonically, the second film is also up for grabs. What follows is up for some debate in the community, and look, I'm not trying to upset anyone. There's a lot of ghost-bustin' material out there. I'm just trying to thread the needle. Personally, I'll be avoiding the 2016 reboot film. And I probably won't be pulling from the real Ghostbusters cartoons, but I will draw from Ghostbusters Afterlife and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire as needed. Turns out there's some items that become canonic expenses as revealed in those movies, but again, we're only dealing with the events and materials revealed in this film for now. For additional calculations and metrics, I'll also be pulling from some of the games. Activision's Ghostbusters 1984 for the Commodore 64, the 1986 tabletop role-playing game, and the 2009 Ghostbusters the video game, loosely based on a proposed Ghostbusters 3 script. With these sources in mind, how profitable is the Ghostbusters enterprise as of the first film? Does bustin' feel good on all accounts? Or do their debts haunt the halls of an otherwise empty bank? Let's find out. The movie begins with a haunting in a library. Someone spectral is going ham on the Dewey Decimal System, and it causes an older woman to scream her way into the title card, as well as the most banginest theme song ever. Ray Parker Jr. wrote this song in just 3 days, and supposedly is the origin of the call and response. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Although the identities of that joyful crowd remain unknown. That title card leads us into the office of Dr. Peter Venkman in the process of sussing out psychic behavior through negative reinforcement. It's going well. Pete, that's Pete, is doing his best problematic game show host impression when Ray Stantz, that's Ray, bursts in to announce there's an actual ghost. The two book it downtown to the library, meeting up with Egon Spengler, that's Egon, currently investigating the scene. After interviewing the librarian, the three jostle downstairs to the basement, witnessing several paranormal events. Books stacked vertically, a mysterious goo on the stacks, and a full-body apparition of a deceased librarian. Not knowing what else to do, the three decide to jump the ghost. That doesn't work out too well, though, and agree that in the future, they ought to try busting instead. Busting makes me feel good. As the three return to campus to celebrate, they're met with some unfortunate news. They've been defunded, and the school is seizing all of its property. Apparently this doesn't include the PKE meter in Egon's hands, though, so keep that little nugget in mind. With nowhere else to go and no more funding coming in, it's time to come up with a new plan. Go into business yourselves! How do they fund going into business?
Where are we going to get the money? I don't know.
By having Ray take out 3 mortgages on his home. Here's where the financials start to happen, and thankfully, someone's done a lot of the legwork for us. Back in 2016, with the release of the Ghostbusters reboot, Ryan Britt at Inverse decided to calculate the Ghostbusters business plan, drawing from data available at the time. Egon tells Ray that the first year of interest on his mortgages is $95,000 at 19% interest. Math tells us this is around $500,000. Assuming zero money down and a loan term of 30 years fixed rate, their first month's bill looks to be approximately $7,944.46. well, at least they'll have it paid off by 2014. I'm not going to take anyone else's life savings into account, given the boys just lost their jobs, and there's no mention of anyone else throwing pennies into this dumpster fire. Up next is finding a place to operate, and boy, do they. A nearly condemned former firehouse catches their eye, and we have some historical data to work out how much it would have cost. Now, normally you can't buy firehouses, but these are not normal circumstances, and if you look around New York, you can find a few former firehouses converted into homes or businesses. This lot in particular, 78 Morton Street, went up for sale in 1979. I did some digging and found the original mortgage for that purchase totaling $85,000. Well within our budget. Now, here's where it gets tricky. There's some obvious repairs that need to be done to the property, as Egon lists off.
I think this building should be condemned. There's serious metal fatigue in all the load-bearing members. The wiring is substandard. It's completely inadequate for our power needs.
All those repairs should add up to around $10,000 given the municipal nature of the building and the heavy equipment the boys are hauling inside. We're then introduced to Dana Barrett, that's Dana, and her neighbor, Louis Tully, that's Louis. Louis is an accountant. I like Louis. On Dana's TV, we see a commercial for the Ghostbusters. Now, they don't have their uniforms yet, but they've got cameras rolling and mention a paid staff. I couldn't find specifics, but my research suggests that $200 to $500 will get you a daytime commercial spot in New York City in the mid-'80s. Given the incredibly budget look of this ad, we can nudge that towards the $200 zone. In the next scene, we see the boys having a sign put up on the building. Not the iconic sign, mind you, but a simpler banner version. As the sign's being finished up, we have that all-too-famous vehicle, Ecto-1, a 1959 Cadillac hearse ambulance. What a beauty. And only $4,800. I spoke to my car expert, and he assured me that the cost of repairing everything that Ray lists would run approximately $7,000 in 1984. All in all, not bad. Additions to the vehicle, running from gumball lights, emergency lights, sirens, antenna, and other roof rack equipment, runs around $500. Inside, we see Janine, that's Janine, has settled into her role as clerk, assistant, whatever. Later in the film, she tells us she's been working for weeks without a day off. Given that the film takes place roughly over the course of a month, we can also pay Janine's salary right now. She mentions that she's quit jobs that paid more than this one, so she's likely getting paid minimum wage. Minimum wage in New York in 1984 was $3.35. If we assume Janine's working 60 hours a week, that puts her right around $871 for the duration of the film. We should also charge for her desk equipment since Pete points out,
Type something, will you? We're paying for this stuff.
it looks like she's got a PC, a printer, possibly a fax machine, keyboard, desk, phone, nameplate, the works. $1,500 isn't unreasonable. I mean, they're not hooking Janine up with an Apple Macintosh after all. That would have run you a smooth $2,495. Gnarly. Oh, hey, Egon. Dana walks into the shop complaining that her fridge is full of vaporwave, which, to be fair, it is. The gang start analyzing Dana to see if she's crazy, possessed, both. We get a great wide shot of their analysis station and hardware library, which, my God, we've got a lot. Like a lot. I mean, this is a grab bag of voltmeters, computers, spectrum analyzers, parts, oscilloscopes, lamps, cameras, shelves. The furniture at least looks thrifted. All in all, given the time, I think we're looking at around $45,000 in computer hardware here. And that's being generous. But hey, these guys are scientists. They need all that stuff. Just like they need that hi-fi setup behind Pete, and those arcade cabinets and pinball machines at the back. Pete,
It's Dr. Venkman.
Dr. Venkman heads over to Dana's apartment to check things out, using some sort of pump analyzer.
It's technical.
I'll say they cobbled it together in their lab. Dr. Venkman checks out the fridge, but doesn't find much out of the ordinary. 2 versions of Coke, though. That's suspicious. Dr. Venkman professes his love to Dana. That's healthy. And the two go their separate ways. That's probably for the best. Later on, we do find out that Dana prepaid for this visit to the tune of $500, so we can at least charge for that. After the visit, Dr. Venkman asks to borrow some petty cash to take Dana out to dinner, but Ray tells him they spent the last of the petty cash on their feast of Chinese takeout. Now, petty cash doesn't necessarily mean all the money they have in the bank, or even how much is left from their initial loan, just what they have available on hand. Could be that's all they had available for the week or the night, or they were tired of Dr. Venkman treating the business like a piggy bank. Who can say? But we can say that that takeout meal is expensed. Pity they don't get to finish the meal because a call comes in. They've got a job. Leading to the first big job of the film, the Sedgewick Hotel. For this job, we can see the boys have upgraded to full jumpsuits and are carrying those oh-so-iconic proton packs. Let's cover the coveralls. $40 a piece for custom uniforms. We know there's 4 in the film, so $160. Now, as far as those packs go...
Switch me on.
As Dr. Venkman points out, each pack carries an unlicensed nuclear accelerator. You could think of it like a portable hadron collider, much smaller version of what's at CERN right now. Now, you may be thinking, shrinking one of those down to incredibly portable size must be incredibly portably difficult. It turns out the problem was the inverse. We've been trying to make them bigger for the past century. You see, each of those proton packs carries what's known as a cyclotron, a particle accelerator invented way back in 1929 by Ernest Lawrence. His first cyclotron was only 4.5 inches across. Yeah, you heard me, 4.5 inches. You can do a lot with that kind of girth. And ever since, we've been trying to go bigger. For the busters in the elevator, they didn't need to go CERN big, so size-wise, we're still in the realms of reality. But that's not the only component on board. We've got hydrogen gas actuators, we've got onboard power cells with carbon-15. Actually, let me pull up this blueprint we see briefly in Ghostbusters Afterlife. This is really a maintenance schematic, but it provides some exquisite material breakdown in order to figure out what we're charging. Well, hang on. What's that speck in the corner? Is that a date? Oh, this is interesting. If we zoom all the way in on this schematic, you'll see high up in the upper left corner, a date, June 1982. This maintenance schematic predates the film by 2 years. Now, what does that mean for us? This means that the proton packs predate the start of the business, which means we don't have to expense them. And same goes for the PKE meter, by the way. University time, university dime, baby. I did ask some of my physicist experts regarding the construction of these packs, and while they told me they'd never be able to do what we see them do in the film, the 4 packs would cost in a magnitude of several thousands of dollars in 1984, mostly due to the manufacturing and development. Turns out, particle accelerators aren't that complicated, only when they're big. So 4 packs in the bag, free of charge. And yes, I say 4 because like all good machines, you want 1 per person plus a backup. Always, always, always have a backup. Up on the 12th floor, click, 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 the boys blast the maid on her way out of a room, causing some severe property damage. And we should talk about that. The Ghostbusters are, shall we say, liberal with their particle beams. In fact, this is a running gag in the video game, where you revisit the Sedgewick and even have a damage counter tallying up the cost of all of your damages. Now, this counter isn't completely accurate, as it prices objects fairly evenly and doesn't always account for fire damage to walls or residual ectoplasmic secretions. I personally don't know anyone who knows how to charge for ectoplasmic secretions, but I do know people who know how to charge for fire and water damage. Tack on any damaged furniture, tables, and well, you get the idea, and we came up with some numbers. Approximately $3.81 per square foot of damage, broken furniture included. So as we hunt Slimer, we account for the hallway and the cart, easy, and this hallway, no problem, and oh my. That's a ballroom. That's a very, very nice ballroom. Did you know it's a real ballroom? The Sedgewick Hotel is played by the Biltmore in Los Angeles, California, and the ballroom our boys are trashing was then known as the Music Room, now serving as the current hotel lobby. Accounting for all the damaged furniture, walls, bar, and chandeliers, we can estimate the damage at approximately $23,987. Yeesh. We also get to see the Ghostbusters trap working in the flesh for the first time. Now, this portably ghosty prison uses some interesting tech, and we kinda know how it works. Channeling Spirits broke down the science on these machines on her channel, so please go check her out for more. I'll link her in the corner and down in the description. Basically, ghosts are composed of hydrogen fused with valence electrons, thus the Busters' use of proton beams to weaken the subatomic molecular bond of the ghost, stripping those valence electrons away from the Spectre. If enough of these protons hit the protons of the ghost, they can collide and produce muons, which will turn around and bond with the ghostly protons, giving them a higher mass. This is where the trap comes in. The trap uses a powerful electromagnet with a positive charge to pull on the weakened molecular structure of the ghosts, rapidly reeling them into a homogeneous axial magnetic field inside. When all those ghostly ions are detected, a valence indicator lights up to indicate the ghost has been acquired. The whole unit is battery powered, it operates via a foot pedal, and if it were hooked up to power permanently, it could hold a ghost indefinitely. How much does it cost? Well, it's mostly electromagnets, a battery, a switch, and a valence electron detector. All in all, $5,000 will get you a trap. Manufacturing is a bitch like that. We see 2 traps in the entire film, so we'll just charge for 2. Thankfully, this is the Busters' first real paying job. They charge the hotel a special deal. $4,000 to trap it, $1,000 to store it. So, $5,000. Hey, convenient. Some very clean numbers, but for fun, we can back them up. We get a nice breakdown on this pricing in the Ghostbusters tabletop game. Inspection runs $500, ghost removal costs $4,000, any extra ghosts after that cost $1,000, and storage of all ghosts associated with the job costs $1,500. It's worth noting that the tabletop game also clarifies some jobs will be pro bono if the clientele is right. Quote, Ghostbusters tend to have Robin Hood complexes. Steal from the rich, give to the poor. Ghostbusters will be more lenient with some clients and straight up rip off larger businesses and government bureaucracies. Hell yeah. While this might be where established prices originate, you can see Egon subtly giving Dr. Venkman the numbers as they discuss the supposed special. The following day, the news is chatting about our boy's big hit while Dana does some stretches, and we're given a montage of activity speeding by. We'll use the tabletop prices for these busts as they come up. A ghost in Chinatown gets busted, and we see the shopkeep running to give the boys 2 ducks. I'll count this as a pro bono job. Another job has Ray exclaiming he's got a live one as he ascends from a duplex. We get a shot of the lads running through Rockefeller Center with a trap. We can call this another job well done. Egon shouts, "I got it," as he walks out with another trap full of ghosts. And shortly after, we have the boys marching yet another trap through a large crowd. There's a shot of the boys sprinting to another job. We can bill that. An off-screen narrator from a radio broadcast mentions that they just cleared a ghost from a nightclub. Dr. Venkman stands outside Ecto-1 post-job advertising the company. And we see the phones are on fire with 4 lines on hold and another on call. Tally that up to 5 more jobs total. After being on a talk show, the boys roll up to home base after yet another job. And the lads have clearly been working themselves to the bone, or in Ray's case, boner. This is a weird dream sequence with our female ghost played by Playboy model Kimberly Herron, who sadly passed away in 2022. Now, before we lose our minds over all that business, we also need to calculate for estimated damages from each of those jobs. Remember, the Ghostbusters are not exactly the sharpest shooters. They tend to make a mess, and messes need cleanups. If we take our damages per square foot estimate from earlier, that's $3.81 per square foot, and estimate each of these jobs at, let's say, 1,000 square feet of damage on average, 14 jobs adds up to approximately $53,340 in damages across New York City. Oof. Following our Ghost of Wet Dream Past and subsequent financial letdown, the Ghostbusters are ready to hire on another team member, Winston Zeddemore, who also introduces us to the new vacuum form sign out front. Clearly, the logo says it all. As Winston gets interviewed in what might be the best opening question ever,
Do you believe in UFOs?
the lads enter from yet another job. Funny Funny how Dr. Venkman always seems to be the one getting messy. Oh, and Janine is on the phone with yet another customer, as well as the night's worksheet, to which Ray bemoans,
Oh, great. 2 more free repeaters.
I take this to mean that the Busters are offering a special. The first ghost will cost, but any repeat ghosts at that location will be free. Presumably they did this because ghosts wouldn't escape, but it looks like they might have a habit of occupying previously haunted locations. The dead, am I right? Now this does mean we don't have to charge for the 2 jobs that evening, but I'll go ahead and tally the job Janine had on hold currently. Hey Winston, got the job! Nice! Outside, Dana, you remember Dana, is getting hit on by Dr. Venkman again. This time she seems a little enamored by it, at least. Dr. Venkman fills Dana in on the current status of her case. They found Zool, very cool, minion of Gozer, hella dozer, and Dr. Venkman still finds an opportunity to ask her out. Smooth. Does Ghostbusters have HR? Is Venkman HR? They made Venkman HR, didn't they? Back in the office, Winston, you remember Winston, is getting the lowdown on how ghosts are stored upon arrival, and we finally get a great look at the containment unit, or at least the part that we can see. The containment unit operates like a very large trap. You load in a trap, you set your entry grid, you neutronize the field, and when the light is green,
Trap is clean.
but how much does a containment unit cost? Well, it depends on scale, ultimately. Some of Egon's schematics for his revised containment unit suggest that the entire inside of the unit is filled with cyclotrons. Or, at least it ought to be. Thank the Cat Lords. Channeling Spirits did the legwork here and did a really nice rundown of the physics of the containment unit. The main chamber of the containment unit is a very large penning trap made up of electromagnets, as well as a high-voltage laser grid to prevent escape. 2 more negatively charged electromagnets in the antechamber push any ghost back into the main chamber for containment. When the trap and antechamber are clear, the green light flashes, the flags go up, churning and burning, the system is yearning for a bill. What we're looking at is a large-scale electromagnetic and laser grid system that has a process of polarity switches that depend on proprietary hardware to operate. Notably, there's 0 power backup in the event of a blackout. While the Busters could skimp on the check, this is the most important aspect of their job, one would think, and thus the most important, significant portion of their bill. All told, after consulting my experts, we agreed that the machinery, modeling, remodeling, electrical work, and proprietary systems developed would run approximately $150,000. I say this because I think the boys can handle constructing their own electromagnets, but what they can't build are lasers. They need to buy lasers. They need to hire electricians. That's hours of labor, testing, retesting, etc. 150 grand is generous. Could they have done it cheaper? Sure, they might have. We never get a great look at what's behind the wall, but this level of manufacturing and finish implies some heavy industrial work, so I'll go no cheaper than that. Upstairs, the EPA is very curious about how the ghosts are stored, as we were, and would very much like to see said storage facility.
You did not use the magic word.
What is the magic word, Mr. Venkman?
Please.
Dr. Venkman gives the EPA the finger and shows him the door. Not sure how I feel about this, to be honest. On the one hand, the Ghostbusters are doing a good job, but on the other hand, yeah, I feel like there's reason for concern. Privatization on this magnitude can be very risky to the nearby community. Although, usually it's the government stepping in to help cover up a spill, rather than what we see here, but hey, what do I know? This guy's a prick, though. Back downstairs, Egon comments that the box is getting a bit stuffed, likening it to a big old Twinkie.
That's a big Twinkie.
Goddamn right it is. Elsewhere, the live-action adaptation of Gargoyles is finally taking off. Side note, please, someone, please give me a late 80s, early 90s live adaptation of the cartoon Gargoyles. It's such a fantastic cartoon, please. Not a single moment of dead air on that show. Just front to back gargoyle awesomeness. Anyway, Lewis, you remember Lewis, is finally hosting a party for all his accounting clients. It's a classic party.
You're missing a classic party.
See? Dana declines the invitation as she's got a hot date tonight with a really weird guy. Oh, I think he's here. Oh no, that's the possessed chair of HR nightmares and a demon dog. Neat. Bye, Dana. Back at Lewis's party, his demon dog is playing coat check for the evening. Using your dog as unpaid labor?
Makes good financial sense. Good advice.
I love Lewis. Maybe I'll throw a party for my experts. Take them all to the Saw escape room in Vegas.
I'm giving this whole thing as a promotional expense. That's why I invited clients instead of friends. You having a good time, Mark?
Anyway, Lewis's coat check dog goes nuts and chases him into the street, park, and restaurant patio where absolutely no one gives a fuck. Bye, Lewis. Back at Dana's, Dr. Venkman has finally arrived and things are weird, real weird. Gonna glaze over this part a bit, but Dana's been possessed by Zool, gatekeeper, minion of Gozer, and would really like to speak to the Keymaster. Outside, Lewis has been possessed by the Keymaster and is in search of Zool, the gatekeeper.
I am Vince Clortho, Keymaster of Gozer. Volca Sildro, our Lord of the Cebulia. Are you the gatekeeper?
The cops do the right thing and drop off Lewis at Ghostbusters HQ, where they quickly pull him inside and determine that Vince Glortho there is unwell, but he can give us a pretty decent rundown of some of the lore we missed.
During the rectification of the Voldrani, the Traveler came as a large and moving torrent. Then, during the third reconciliation of the last of the McKettrick supplicants, they chose a new form for him.
Cool. Dr. Venkman calls the office, and the two start putting two and two together. Some weird paranormal shiz is about to get wild. Oh, thank God the EPA is here to help. Hey, man, listen, there's some crazy stuff going on. Can you... Oh, what are you... Oh, no, please don't shut that off. Oh, oh, boy. See, this is why you need a battery backup. Ghostbusters HQ has a paranormal Chernobyl event with a massive beam of definitely radioactive particles escaping through the roof. That's neat. Wait, Chernobyl happened in 1986, and this movie came out in 1984. That means that Chernobyl had a Ghostbusters event. Ha, neat! New York is once again flooded with haunts and ghosts and possibly radiation. That seems safe. And Zool, you remember Zool, is feeling it. For our purposes, I have to ask whether any damages caused by the escaped ghosts could be put back on the Ghostbusters to pay for, and there's a good possibility of that. In the second movie, the Busters mentioned being sued to Kingdom Come by everyone in the city, but frankly, the damage we see here is popsicle sticks compared to what's coming. Whoop, never mind, the ghost blew open Dana's apartment. That is a full popsicle of a problem. The Bust Boys are in jail, but are still capable of making a plan. Turns out Dana's apartment building was designed by an occultist who wanted to summon Gozer to bring about the end of the world. That totally checks out. You know, this reminds me of a building in Houston. It's got this crazy Mayan temple on the roof, and I always wondered what was going on up there as a kid. There's no ghosts or gargoyles as yet, but never say never. Eventually, the mayor calls the Bustin' crew into his office to figure out just what's going on.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Dickless over there still seems to think this was all swamp gas or some shit. What's crazy is, none of these guys ever saw a nuclear power plant fail because in a post-Chernobyl world, we'd all be wearing lead hats and underwear after that light show. The mayor hears their argument, and frankly, it makes for a great re-election campaign. Everyone votes for the mayor in a disaster zone, especially the mayor that cleans things up. The Ghostbusters have the mayor set them up with a nice convoy over to Dana's apartment. I don't know how much this would cost taxpayers, considering they're escorted by what looks like a healthy chunk of the National Guard? I'll leave those calculations to someone way more qualified. What we do see is some pretty hefty building damage raining down, followed by street damage akin to a sinkhole, promptly swallowing and killing the Ghostbusters before they can save the day. So, how successful was their oh, never mind, they're still alive. I knew you could do it, boys. I never lost faith. We get a good look at just how demolished Dana's apartment is, and the boys are finally approaching the roof. Oh good, the gates to Gozer's Vaporwave domain are opening. As the lads approach the absolutely rad Gozer home, our David Bowie-esque finale finally appears.
Go get her, Ray!
Ray suggests Gozer leave. Gozer politely declines, as Gozer only negotiates with gods, or...
Are you a god?
No.
Then...
Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes!
After some acrobatics and a near miss, Gozer rains down some rubble on up high. We're officially approaching localized earthquake damage. Gozer then offers to take the form of whatever the lads want to die to. Ray, unfortunately, offers up a visage of his happy place, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Nice thinking, Ray.
Ghostbusters is officially a kaiju movie. Hell yeah. We are now entering kaiju levels of property damage. Hell nah.
I'm terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought.
Oh, that church is destroyed. Oh dear. And now he's climbing the building. Egon suggests one last-ditch effort to prevent total destruction.
We'll cross the streams.
I gotta be honest with you, I'm not sure what this would necessarily do. Stronger stream, maybe? They're proton streams, literal beams of excited protons, so crossing those streams would hypothetically create pions and muons, which I guess would serve the same function as opening a ghost trap, so in this case, I figure they're doing that while using Gozer's gateway as the trap itself, using its natural ionic state to draw the big ghost in? Maybe? But hey, we get confirmation of Winston's salary.
The job is definitely not worth $11,500 a year.
$11,500 a year comes out to roughly $958.33 a month. Winston says he's been with the company for a few weeks in the mayor's office, so we can just subtract a month's pay from the bank. Anywho, the lads cross their streams and pop Gozer's holiday hut, officially blowing the roof off the already trashed building. Yikes. As debris and marshmallow rain down on the city below, let's take a moment to appreciate how briefly delicious and slightly erotic this scene is. Don't judge me. Silence pervades as the boys slowly come to, surveying the destruction and checking to see if everyone's still alive. Good news! They are. Bad news! I think this is coming out of your bill. Assuming the city doesn't help out. Also, I love how Dr. Venkman is mostly untouched by the goo, considering he spent the entire film getting gooed on. His dodge skills have improved. Level him up! Oh wait, wrong series. Oh yeah, Dana and Lewis. You remember Dana and Lewis. They're fine. Tired, confused, but fine. Still waiting on my Gargoyles movie.
Boy, the superintendent's gonna be pissed. Who are you guys?
We're the Ghostbusters.
Who does your taxes?
Dawn breaks as the lads descend to street level, the crowd cheering them on. The theme song plays them out as the credits roll. And yeah, I know the song makes an appearance in Ghostbusters 2, like we talked about, but this video isn't about Ghostbusters 2. Any expenses, bills, or other fees mentioned in that sequel, you just have to wait for that video. If you want to see me break down Ghostbusters 2, you'd better watch this video. And subscribe, you jabronis. So, did the Ghostbusters slide out from under the debt of running a business built on the dead? Or have they crossed the streams of their finances and found themselves 6 feet under with nary a penny for the ferryman? Let's find out. In total, the Ghostbusters had a bank account of $211,574.21 at the end of the first film. Adjusting for inflation, that's approximately $638,772.88 in 2024. From all their previous ghost jobs, they earned roughly $113,500, or $342,672.78 after inflation. That's not bad for the first month. Unfortunately, they're still in the hole, as their expenses and bills totaled $401,925.79, or $1,213,471.60 after inflation. God damn! So, the big question. Could the Ghostbusters afford to run their business? Well, it could be worse. A lot of businesses operate in the red during their first months to years of operations, as profits catch up to startup costs and loans. We're also assuming Ray, Egon, and Dr. Venkman are operating the business without paying themselves at the moment, and handling their personal expenses off of whatever savings they previously held. All in all, unless any catastrophic lawsuits, advertising ventures, or unforeseen expenses hit shortly after the events of the first film, I'd say the boys are gonna be okay. If they run out of ghosts, they can always do parties. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. This video was a lot of fun to research, touching on physics and finance and paranormal stuff. What a ride. I want to give a huge shout out to our Patreon and YouTube members. They keep us afloat while copyright devours our projects. RIP in peace, Scream 2 and 3. Speaking of, I want to reiterate my thanks to all our new members of the Feet tier whose names were lost in the great Scream copyright wars of 2024. Sammy, Bear, Bun Babbit, Allrang Juice, Twixley Studios, and Hollowed. Y'all are fantastic! No feet peaks with that tier, by the way, but you do get to hear me say your internet name in a video. Extra special thank you to my wife Annalise Space for editing this monstrosity. We both had a lot of fun working on it. Let's see, what's coming next? Coming down the pipeline, we have Saw the video game, Law Abiding Citizen, a secret series about movie scripts, and we're bringing back Level With Me. We're doing Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, checking to see what level those characters are based on their abilities used in the film. We get to learn about D&D together. I've also got special treats for our YouTube and Patreon members who join the Discord, like reading fanfiction or streaming. Oh, and apparently Saw 11 is back in production, so more Saw content coming at ya! I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, and if you're still here watching, you're amazing. Thank you so much. And remember, I'm here to make stuff. You're here to watch.